Of course, back to our top story, and that, of course, is the State of the Nation address that is expected to take place this evening at 7 o'clock, when the President will address us from the City Hall in Cape Town. And, of course, we've got reporters stationed all over in Cape Town, and they'll be giving us updates from both within and around the precinct, and we'll be there throughout the day. We, of course, will take that live at 7 o'clock. We'll also have the run-up to the State of the Nation. We'll have the arrivals of all the dignitaries and the red carpet, all of the usual, and then, of course, the analysis. And then this evening, once that State of the Nation address is finished, whatever time it does begin, because I imagine people still expecting disruptions, even though that has been something that's been ruled against, and it's now not allowed in the State of the Nation address, although, you know, this is still in the background of a lot of deliberations, but we'll see what does happen. But the reality is 7 o'clock is when it should start. Bulelani Phillips is there, as I tell you about some of the reporters, and let's get a very quick crossing from him and just find out what to expect today, because obviously there's a lot. I mean, there's road closures, there's the getting ready, and then everybody goes into sessions, and we know how this works. We really do know how this works, but of course it's a bit different this year, because a lot of those that maybe would have interfered with the Sona and try and disrupt have been told they're not allowed to. But it's supposedly a matter of let's wait and see. Bulelani, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you, Leanne, and to the viewers at home. Of course, I'm coming to you live just outside the Cape Town City Hall, where we'll be talking everything economics, trade and economic growth, which is one of the subjects that the President is expected to touch on tonight in his State of the Nation address. Of course, just to off-ramp a little bit, we've just seen the ministers in the JCPS cluster, led by Police Minister Bheki Cele, as well as Defence Minister Thandi Modise, who are also accompanied by the National Police Commissioner, General Fani Masemula, as well as the Hawks boss, Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya. Of course, they will be touching base in terms of the security detail around this event, and checking how prepared is the nation, as well as the organizers of this event, in terms of the security detail. Of course, they will be giving a detailed briefing later on this morning in terms of the state of preparedness around this State of the Nation address. Of course, right now I'm joined by Ibrahim Patel, Minister of Economic Development and Competition. Minister, thank you so much for making time for us. Firstly, I want to come to this point that this is the 8th State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa. In the beginning, he stuck his neck out to say to Mamina, send me, and he promised the country a new dawn. Do you think we've realized that objective?
Well, good morning, Bulelani, to you and to all the viewers. I'm here in Cape Town, just the atmospherics of the place, the City Hall behind us, young students walking to school, and tonight, of course, is an opportunity for the President to respond to exactly that question. This is the last Sona of this administration. It's the first full administration by President Ramaphosa. And I recall on the 20th of June in 2019, the President addressed the nation and set out a vision of what he wants his administration, working in partnership with South Africans, to achieve. And I think if we look at the last 5 years, it's been on the one hand a story of extraordinary challenges, the biggest pandemic in living memory in the last 100 years, the biggest meltdown of the global economy with a recession that we haven't seen since the Second World War, a war in the heart of Europe, in Ukraine, and many other challenges, energy, transport, logistics, and so on. But at the same time also, extraordinary stories of progress, of an economy that has shown a resilience that no one who commentates on these things could have imagined. At the same time also, some real progress at community level, within some key sectors, expansion of some production by manufacturers, and of course, some big news, the switching on of the African Continental Free Trade Area, a game changer, not only for the next few years, but for the next generation or two, as Africa takes on responsibility for its own destiny. And so when we look at the promise that the nation looked at in 2019, and we see where we are now, in extraordinary difficult terrain. I think the administration in many areas has really been able to navigate that carefully, to do it in partnership with South Africans. And the report card can point to many of those areas of progress.
Now, talking about the Africa Free Trade Agreement, as well as linking that to transport logistics, we do have the problem, you might concede, that there are bottlenecks on our harbors and ports. How is that having an impact in terms of making sure that we actually achieve what we intended to achieve?
Yes. Now, Bulelani, without any question, one of the challenges we'll have to embrace is fixing our transport logistics. The nature of the South African economy is so much of our production takes place in Gauteng. And therefore, transport logistics is critical to the South African economy's competitiveness. We've had very big challenges in our ports with real, shall I say, long ship waiting times and docking challenges and so on. And when we looked at this, we realized that it was causing two negative consequences. On the one hand, it was slowing the economy itself, and on the other hand, it would also limit our ability to utilize the African Continental Free Trade as a platform. And so we've been working in partnership now with the private sector. We've reached out to exporters and to businesses who rely on transport logistics. And we've been able to get the number of ships waiting to get into the Durban port, which is Africa's most busiest and most diversified gateway port. That's a port that not only does transshipment of goods, but also importantly is connected to the domestic economy. So there you have Africa's jewel. It was going at a sluggish pace, which was causing a cost on the economy, and we're now beginning to address that. There's a new leadership in Transnet, a new energy there, and the number of ships waiting to dock has dramatically come down. Of course, we haven't completely resolved it. We need to do a lot more. It's technology, it's the equipment, and it's the people management systems that would need to be upgraded so that we unlock the promise of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
I'm out of time, but I just do need to ask you this question. You have been the champion of AGOA, the Africa Growth Opportunity Act by the US. How is that going to be impacted by South Africa's stance with the International Criminal Court of Justice?
So in looking at what South Africa's put forward in the ICJ, what is important is we live in a world that aspires to a rules-based system. We have trade rules, we have rules that are set by a number of treaties that countries enter into, conventions that are applied globally through negotiation by countries. And the rules have to be applied to. And South Africa was in that position during the apartheid years when there was enormous suffering of black South Africans.
Will we be impacted?
Well, I think what we're doing is we're reaching out to the United States. We're impacting, we're engaging with them. We've had a very positive message from the United States. They've said, in relation to this question that was posed to the Secretary of State of the US, that South Africa and the United States has a large agenda that they work on commonly. So we're going out there, we want to sell our goods in the United States. We want to be able to export and create jobs for young South Africans.
All right, thank you so much. All the best. Minister Ibrahim Patel, Minister of Economic Development and Competition. Leanne, we'll cross back to you in studio.